Hey YouTube, it's a new day, it's a new week, and I'm doing pretty good. Now this week's video is going to be on diet as promised. Honestly, I've restarted this video so many times because there's so many things I honestly want to talk about with this. But what I'm going to do, I've decided, is I'm just going to jump in and let you guys know at first what I do, and then I'm going to go into my opinions on diet. So what I do, first off, is I figured out how many calories I need to basically eat to lose the weight in conjunction with my exercise. So in order to do that, I used a website called sparkpeople.com. Awesome website if you guys have never seen it. It's more than just a calorie counting website. Like, you can find the foods you eat on there, the exercise, how many calories it converts to, how many calories you need to eat to get to like a certain goal. So if you've never heard of it, never tried it, I really recommend checking it out. Once I've figured out the calories, what I do is I divide that up into 6 meals in a day, and I eat every hour and a half to 3 hours. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, well, I can't do that, Ryan. You know, I just have a really busy day and stuff, and I wouldn't be able to do it. I can barely get my 3 squares in. You know what? Honestly, I'm not perfect with that every day, and I realized something actually just this past week, is even if you can't be perfect with that, the big thing is not just doing that, because that keeps your metabolism going all day. That's why I do it. The big thing is not necessarily just doing that, it's counting your calories. The diets that are really successful are the ones that get you to look at the things that you eat and count the calories. So if you can't eat the 6 meals in a day, that's okay. That's just optimal. That's where you're going to get the most weight loss. But if you count your calories in a day, that is good too. So on the days where you can do it, really awesome. On the days where you can't, at least you're still counting your calories, and that's going to give you the benefit too. So maybe you can only do it 2 days in a week where you can eat the 6 meals. Your weekend, that's perfectly fine, but for those other days you can count your calories. There is no way you can just say, well, Ryan, the only thing I can do is go ahead and eat a hamburger. Oh, shenanigans. There are always good and healthy food choices out there. It's just kind of what you tell yourself that you can eat. Now, moving on from what I do, there are things that I have learned during figuring out what to do for dieting. Now, first off, if you're a person that has to lose, like, let's say 10 pounds, dieting works. Now, what I mean by dieting is basically if you go on a program where it's like, okay, I want you to go ahead and, focus on carbs or focus on protein. If you have 10 pounds to lose, this means you already know how to eat. If you have 160 pounds to lose, this means that you do not know how to eat. This means that you got to that size, most likely have been large for the rest of your life, out of addiction to food or being lazy. Now, what that means is that when you go ahead and you choose what you're going to do, you have to understand this is what you're going to have to do most likely until you're old and gray. Either that, or when you're losing the weight, you have to educate yourself on how to eat. If you have a food addiction and you get to your weight, chances are you're going to stop your diet and you're going to go ahead and just binge eat till you go insane. That means all that weight you lost is going to come back. That's why I chose to do this way of eating. Eating 6 meals a day, and I can eat literally whatever I like as long as it fits into my calories. This obviously doesn't mean I go like nuts and eat a whole bunch of sugar or fat, but sometimes I do. And as long as I'm counting my calories, that's fine. But something you come to understand when you eat like that is if you eat something that's very high in calories, it's usually a very tiny portion. But if you have something, let's say like salad, you can have a whole freaking plate of that stuff for that amount of calories. So you basically start telling yourself, okay, well, I'm going to eat this over this. Doesn't mean you don't have a treat once in a while. It just means that you basically become educated on the things that are going to give you the most bang for your buck kind of thing. Some other things to keep in mind, ways to boost your metabolism. First off, when you wake up, you're actually in a dehydrated state. If you go ahead and drink 20 ounces of ice cold water, you can actually speed up your metabolism for the next 90 minutes. Which may not sound like a lot, but considering you have to have breakfast right after, it's pretty nice to get that extra big bang for your buck. Some other things is, let's say you have big sugar cravings and stuff. You can actually eat grapefruit to curb those sugar cravings. Now, another tip for losing weight is actually getting to bed on time. I'm not exactly sure of the total reasons why this happens, but if you actually have an erratic sleep schedule, it lowers your metabolism. So basically you want to get to bed at a good time and make sure you get your full 8 hours there. One other thing on boosting your metabolism would be black coffee. From what I've read, studies have proven that if you have black coffee, it actually helps to boost your metabolism. So I do that, and all these things, of course, have helped. Now, moving on to a way to choose how you eat for the rest of your days there. Now, there's a lot of diets out there that basically tell you, okay, well, it's time to focus on carbs or protein, which I mentioned earlier. But if you focus on one or the other, what ends up happening is your body becomes accustomed to burning food that way. So the moment you have one or the other, you basically balloon up. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, oh, I can eat like this for the rest of my days. But really think about that for a second. Can you really cut out the other ones? We're talking indefinitely. Chances are the answer is no. You can tell yourself yes, but there's going to be a point where you break down and you probably eat the other one. Not to mention, there's health risks when you do these things. For men specifically, if you have too much protein, something you may not know is you can get kidney failure from that. It's not necessarily good to focus on one or the others. You need to find a way to eat that basically allows you to eat both, because in the real world, if you have to, let's say, grab something quickly, which, remember, I did say that you should be able to have some time to prepare what you're going to eat or make a good choice. If you have to grab something quickly, it's not like you can just grab something on the go that's generally going to have one or the other. It's most likely going to have both. So choosing a way to eat that basically incorporates both, I believe, is pretty important. Something I wanted to mention is diet products. Now, you might look at Diet Pop and be like, oh, Diet Pop, that's totally fantastic. This is going to help me lose weight. Diet Pop is not going to help you lose weight. To the contrary, Diet Pop is actually worse for you than regular pop. The reason being is aspartame. A lot of people probably tell you, oh, aspartame's terrible, it's going to cause cancer. I don't know about all that. There was a study done where people were put on Diet Pop and people were put on regular pop. And I'm not exactly sure the things they eat, but what they found is the people that were put on Diet Pop actually gained more weight than the people who were put on regular pop. And the reason being is because of the aspartame in the pop. Aspartame causes your body to release a hormone that actually says, okay, the incoming stuff I want you to store as fat. So it itself may not be converted into calories or whatnot, but it does tell your body it's time to store things with fat. You really, really want to stay with aspartame, and you have to educate yourself on products that say that they are for dieting. Research. Go on the internet. Type it in. Ask questions. Don't just blindly follow. Even the things that I say, you're more than welcome to go on the internet and do some research of this stuff. There may even be things that I don't know about that I have mentioned here that I need some more education on. These are just, like I said, things that have worked for myself. So if there's any information that you have that basically contradicts what I'm saying, please feel free to send it to me. I'm more than happy to educate myself and revise the things that I say. I'm not so arrogant as to say, hey, I know everything, blah, blah, blah. Because it's not true, especially with as much as I've learned. The one thing I come to understand is the more I learn, the more I realize I do not know. A really big thing when you're dieting is not to undereat. A lot of people think, alright, well, I'm going to reduce myself down to 1,200 calories and I'm going to lose a bunch of weight because I need to eat 2,000 in order to lose weight. But if I lower it more, that's going to be great. That is not going to be great. Your body goes into starvation mode, which can fatigue muscle, which can cause it to burn. It can also do things like the moment you go over the calories, all of it is stored as fat. It is a really bad move. You will lose more weight if you actually eat the required amount of calories. Now, something I've run into, I didn't realize this, but I was undereating. Now, not because I actually wasn't taking the advice of anywhere that suggested my calories, it was because something I didn't know. When you actually start to lose a whole bunch of weight, because keep in mind, I've lost 160 something pounds now. My metabolism is starting to work properly again. And when you start to burn more calories, you actually have to put in a little bit more. So since I'm working out, I didn't realize that since I've lost all this weight, my metabolism's gone up and I was starting to crash during my workouts. If that happens and you've been working out for, let's say, more than 2 weeks, because you need to get used to it at first, you're going to have some problems when you first start exercising. This means you are not eating enough, and it can be really bad. You can pass out, you can burn muscle, you can do all this kind of stuff. So I actually had to up my calories by 200 calories a day when I work out. This has made a huge difference since I started to do that. I'm not crashing anymore. Myself, what I do is before going to work out, I actually have a 500 calorie breakfast instead of the 300. I've found that makes a big difference. If you do decide to choose a diet, or you decide to do what I'm doing but incorporate free days, I have 2 suggestions on that. 1, for the first 1 to 2 months, even if the diet says you can have a free day, do not do it if you're a food addict and you've gotten really large. If you're a person that, like I said, has 10 pounds to lose, that's perfectly fine. But if you're really large, this is a slippery slope. If you do this, there's a good chance you might not be able to stop yourself. The other thing is, I don't recommend having free days. A free meal is perfectly fine, but I have experienced in the past where if I have a free day, I can gain anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds in one day. The reason being is myself and people like me don't have self-control. We will literally go crazy. But if you limit it to one meal, even if you do go crazy, it's going to not basically take away from your whole week's workout. You can literally undo your progress in 1 week in 1 day. So that's why I do not recommend free days. If you're like me, you probably have a problem getting in all the daily required vegetable servings. I know I've made videos in the past where I say I'm going to eat more veggies, and I do. I have started to eat more veggies, but I do not get the, I think it's somewhere between 7 to 9 daily servings of vegetables. So I got this product called vegegreens, and it's probably one of the only exceptions I make on my diet. And what I mean by that is spending more than I have to, because like I said, I want to do this as cheaply as possible. Vegegreens gives you anywhere from, I think it's 4 to 7 servings of vegetables. I can't remember the exact number. But it tastes terrible, but it's actually really good and really nutritious. You can look it up. If you look around, and I really recommend looking around, you can get the big container for $30, which is a really good deal. I've been using that thing for like a month or 2, and I'm just starting to get low now. $30 is pretty much less than $1 a day, especially if it lasts as long as mine has. It's also one of the only calorie exceptions I make on my diet because it's 50 calories. I don't count the vegegreens. The other thing is I do have Metamucil at night because of the fiber to keep everything moving. Ugh, details. I don't count that either. If you're dieting and you screw up, you basically overeat one day. Don't just give up on all of it because you made one mistake. You probably will get a little bit discouraged if you do that. You'll beat yourself up, but it's time to just get back on the horse. You don't want to stop because of the short term and undo all the long term stuff you've done. With dieting, there are no quick fixes. This takes time. Regardless if you want to exercise in conjunction with diet, or whether or not you just want to diet on its own, or whether or not there's some sort of magic pill out there that's going to help you to lose weight. There are things like beta blockers that go ahead and will block some calories, but from what I've read, beta blockers have some negative effects, a type of leakage down in the buttock region. Not to mention, I haven't done a lot of research on the actual adverse effects to it, but I doubt very much that anything that blocks calories can be all too good for you. So, I just wanted to make a note that I meant to say fat blockers, not beta blockers. Apparently I was on a brain blocker when I recorded this, so yeah, let's proceed there. Now, a big reason for larger people I don't suggest dieting is because when you're dieting, you're going to go on something that automatically you've been told is temporary because you're using the term dieting. That's why there are so many successful weight loss companies out there. It's not because of the people that succeed, it's because of the yo-yo dieters. If you fail at one, you're just going to try another, or you might even come back to that other one before because you did have some good results, but it only stopped working the moment you stopped. But you're going to do it forever now. You need to find something that is going to work forever. You need to know that when you start this is how you're going to eat. Once again, I really recommend that you find a way to eat instead of a diet. Basically what I mean by that is changing the way you eat, like your diet versus dieting. If you ask a thin person that isn't trying to lose weight what diet they're on, chances are 9 out of 10 are going to be like, I'm not on a diet, what are you talking about? Now, some of them might actually have a high metabolism, which is fantastic for them, but a lot of them probably just know how to eat and portion themselves. So, like I said, you don't want to look at dieting, you want to look at changing your diet. What you eat on a daily basis and what you're going to eat for the rest of your days. Alright, so I've made this video really long. Now we're going to go ahead and quickly look at the points and then end the video. Here are the points. Good points. Yeah. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is see my weight for this week. It's been 2 weeks, so my progress so far. Yeah. And I'm down to 217.3. So the exercise video will be coming up in the next 2 weeks here. I apologize, it's just been really busy and stuff, so I might have it up sooner. Not sure. But look forward to it. Alright, see you guys in a little bit, YouTube. Bye-bye. Ryan's closing time. Alright, I've made this video really wrong. So, okay. Awesome. Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. 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 So I finally figured out what the hell this is called again. Broccoli.